All right, and welcome to Computer Applications. And I wanted to just remind folks we're going to be talking about Chapter 4, which is formatting pages in Word, Microsoft Word. Some of the stuff that you'll hear here on this particular video has to do with the desktop application of Word 2016. So if you have 2013, 2010, Word 365, you're running Office 365, or you're running this on a Macintosh, it may look different. You're going to have to use your own intuition and your own resources to try to find the best way to do that. So again, this is focused primarily on Office 2016, Word 2016, and Chapter 4. So what we're going to be looking at to run through, we're going to be talking about changing document views. So you can see the same document in several different formats. We're going to be navigating in a document with the navigation pane, which is really helpful, especially if you have larger documents. We're going to change things like the margins and the page orientation and the paper sizes. We'll talk more about that. We will also do that both on the simple side, and we'll also go look at it in the more detailed format using the page setup dialog box. We're going to insert things like page breaks and blank pages and cover pages. Those are all fairly easy to do. We're going to insert page numbering. Of course, we're going to have a multi-page document in order to do that. We're going to insert and edit headers and footers. So at the top and bottom of your document, you have a header, which is outside of the normal frame that you'll do editing within, but you have an opportunity to put a header, and you also have an opportunity to put a footer at the bottom of the page. And those can be the same on every page, or you can all have alternating pages, or you can even have the first page be different than all the other pages. And the last thing we're going to wrap up on Chapter 4 will be inserting a watermark on your document, a background color, and a page border. So let's get started. So the first thing we want to look at, I've got a document here. This is actually an article I pulled off. It's January 25th on the Boston Globe, and it's an article called about a cardinal, and it's not about a cardinal, it's about animals in the wintertime, written by Bridget Baker. So simply a copy and paste over directly from the Boston Globe page. And what we have is we've got an image at the top. We have a title. Actually, that's not a title. It is a so it's just a caption, an annotation underneath the picture. So if we go up to your view page, you'll see that there's a number of views available at the top of the page. You can go into read mode, which literally takes up the entire screen. If you want to get rid of it, we're going to hit escape and go back out. Print layout is the one that most people are familiar with, and it's also the one that is the default when you start up Word. You can go to a web layout, which is what it would look like if this was being displayed on a web. So literally, if you could copy and paste it onto an HTML page that's going to be put on a server, it would look more like this. Word doesn't actually work well that way. And you also can do an outline. And you'll notice here that the image is missing, and that each individual element has its own little possibility off on the side. And you can highlight it, cut it, and paste it. I'm going to close the outline view, go back to view, and you can also do a draft, which it's not much different. Most people will just stay in the print layout mode. It gives you an idea of exactly how it's going to look on the page. So again, you'd have to go to view on the tabs at the top, and then look at the view on the ribbon, and you've got your read, your print, your web, and your outline, and your draft. Again, most people are going to stay right within print. So what if we have multiple pages I'm just going to make this into a multi-page document. Obviously, these are all the same. So if we want to do this, again, we're going to go to the view at the top, and then you'll notice that there's a show section on the ribbon, and you can show the ruler. So we turn the ruler on and off. We can show grid lines, which you really don't need to. But we're going to put the navigation page on, navigation pane, which is going to show up on the side of your screen. And there are three possible tabs on there. There's headings, which we haven't talked about yet, so it's not something that you're likely to want to use yet. But there's pages. And here are all the pages in this document. Page 1, page 2, page 3, and a blank page 4. And as your document gets larger and larger, and you get up to the point where you've got 15 or 20 or 30 pages, it's really important to be able to bounce back and forth and find the page that you're working on. And so that's what that's for. That's very helpful. You can also have results. So if you do a search in the document for Shiver, you'll notice that there are three possible places it shows up, and I can click on them. And of course, there are three identical ones because we just copied and pasted the same page 3 times. If I had searched for, turn caps off, search for there's 63 places where the is found. If you look on the page, you have the as the word the. You have it included in the word weather, in the word there, they, northern, these. So you can see you could find it in a lot of different places. If there's 63 results, then do the math, there's 21 per page, given that all 3 of these are the same. I'm going to close that, just click the X, and that all disappears. So hopefully you understand that that's what the navigation page is for. Again, go to View, go to Show, and just click on the navigation page. I'm going to unclick it, and it will come off the page. So let us go back. I'm going to leave all 3 pages there because we're going to do page numbers in a minute. We'll want them to be there. If we want to change the margins on this page, then we're going to go to Layout, again, off of the menu at the top. And now you'll notice there's a whole page setup section on the ribbon. And right here, we have margins. There's the last custom setting where it got set to 1/2 inch on all 4 sides. Normal, narrow, moderate, wide, mirrored, and the default from Office 2003. I'm not sure why that's on there. You can also click custom margins, and a dialog box will pop up and allow you to go in and manually enter what you want for those 4 settings. I'm going to close this. I'm just going to go up to margins and set it to narrow. And you'll notice that the margin at the top and the sides all got smaller. Just because I like it better, I'm going to grab all the text on this first page. I'm going to go to Home, and I'm going to go and justify this. And see, now all of these paragraphs are lined up evenly on both the right and the left side of the page. You'll usually see that done on newspapers and magazines. It gives it a much cleaner look. That page looks a little cleaner than this page. Had nothing to do with page setup, but it was bothering me, so I changed it. So let's go back to layout. So what if we change from a portrait to a landscape? And now what happens is, instead of being an 8.5 by 11, it becomes an 11 by 8.5. And printers can print either way, and a lot will depend on what is more important to you when you're looking to print something. So you'll just want to accommodate that. If you're doing a brochure, which is a tri-fold, you're going to have to do it this way. It's just completely up to what you need, and go with that. I'm going to just flip it back to portrait, and you can see nothing really has changed. We can also do paper size. So this is set up for an 8.5 by 11. What would happen if it was an 8.5 by 14, which is a standard legal size piece of paper. And you'll notice now it's brought some of each page up to the page before because there's a lot of extra. And we could force it back to, and we're going to go right here. Oops, not quite what I wanted. There we go. So you can see on an 8.5 by 14, we'd end up with a lot more empty space at the bottom. And you can pick any different size. You can also go to more page sizes. I used to do a lot with 11 by 17, which will give you 4 pages of 8.5 by 11, 2 on one side and 2 on the other side, and you'd end up with a fold as a newsletter, which had quite a lot of information on it. Go to more page size, and you can set it here any way you want and override it. I'm just going to go back to a standard letter size, and now we're back to our 3 pages. We've lost that blank page at the bottom. I'm not sure what happened to it. So that's how you would go and do that. But notice at the bottom of the page setup section, there is an expand, and this will open up that page dialog box. This is where you can change the margins, you can change the paper size, and you can change the layout. You can also set headers and footers to be different odd and even pages or different on the first page. Where do you want the header to be? At the top, obviously, or the bottom, but how far in from the top and bottom margins do you want it to be? So you can do all of that. And later we're going to get into borders and other things that you can put in here. All right. Oh, and here's the orientation on the margins page. Even though you might be thinking more, it should be on the paper section. It's under the margins. Here's your portrait. Here's your landscape. So you can go back and forth between that. Another cool thing that you can do here, and we're not going to talk about it in detail today, is you can set this up for 2 pages per sheet. You can mirror the margins, and you can do a book fold. A book fold means that it's going to treat it, and it really has to be in landscape, and it's going to treat it like 2 half pages right next to each other. So they're going to be 5.5 across, 8.5 down, and then 5.5 by 8.5 on the other side. And a lot of people will do programs that way so that it's a single 8.5 by 11 sheet, but it's foldable, and you end up with a page 1, page 2, page 3, and page 4 on the back. So that's changing a lot of that. It's using the page setup dialog box, which is this little, you use the pop-up at the bottom of the page setup ribbon, and it brings out all of the details. All right, so we've got ourselves a 3-page document here. What if we want to have a cover page or a blank page, or put in a page break so that it forces a page to be in a particular place? If you remember, maybe we want to start a brand new page right before the paragraph that starts with avoiding. Now, we could sit here and just hit return until it all goes off the page, but that's actually pretty bad form. And so what we're going to do is we can either go up here to the page setup, and there's a break option with a drop-down menu. And you'll notice I can put in a page break, a column break, or set up text wrapping. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put in a page break. What it's going to do is force everything below that to go to the next page. So I'm going to do that, and you'll notice it went to the next page. If I want to bring any of the stuff from the page below it back up, I'm going to just do a delete here, and it brought it back up. Now maybe I don't want that. Maybe I want this to be all on its own page. So again, I can insert a page break. But there's another way to do it, a page break. Oops. If I want this to force a page break, I can do a control plus enter. So that's control plus the enter key. And that will force a new page. So either one of those will work. I just typed that in so you can see it. When you see those brackets around a word where they're talking about a shortcut, that means press the control, press the enter. Doesn't mean spell out CTRL or ENTER. So there we go. I'm going to take that back, but that's how you put in a page break. If we wanted to insert a, let me go back here and fix this too. There we go. If we want to put a blank page, a cover page in front of this, we need to go up to the very beginning, and we can do that by doing Control Home. And you'll notice the cursor is now right up here at the top of the page. If this page starts with the very first thing being a picture, you'll notice that the cursor is actually directly to the left of the bottom of the picture. And that means it's as far to the front as it can go. There is no other place it can go. It's a little confusing. I can even hit return now, and it will put a space bar above it. Now you can see the cursor up at the top. But maybe that's not what I want. Maybe I want that picture right at the top. So let's insert So we went to the insert option on the menu. We're going to go to pages right here at the front, and there's three choices. We can insert a cover page, a blank page, or a page break. So here's one more place that we can get the page break. I'm going to insert a cover page, and you'll notice there's a drop-down menu. Gives me a bunch of different options. I can be colorful, I can be fancy, I can include a picture. What it's going to do is it's going to put a template there. You're still going to have to put your information in there, but it's going to give you a template to get you started. And there are more cover pages available from office.com. And we can also remove the current cover page if we're there. So I'm going to go with something, I'll just pick Ion Dark. And so it added this to the very beginning. You'll notice that I need to go in and put some of the information. Do animals suffer in the winter? And this would probably be a good place to put Boston Globe, Bridget Baker, January 25th, 2019. So all of this is put in here. I can put the company address. I'm just going to take it out for now. So here we go. We've got a cover page. It doesn't impact anything else in the document. Just puts it right there at the beginning as a cover page. If I wanted to go right here, I'm going to go to the next page. Again, notice that this cursor is at the left bottom of the image, which is at the top of the page. There is nothing before that on that page. And I'm going to insert a blank page. There it goes. So now we have just a blank page in between here. Now there's another way we can do that. Well, we could also put in a Control-C, insert a page break. Any of those will cause a new page. But I'm going to go back to View, Navigation page, pane, and go to Pages. So here's all those pages. Here's this blank page. Guess what? I can right mouse click on it. I can right mouse click it. Well, wouldn't you know? Well, that's annoying. Well, as with all good things, there should be a right mouse click option in the navigation page. I do not know why it's not showing up here. It could be the copy of Word that they have running here on campus. Could be any number of reasons. You should be able to do a right mouse click, and then the options will include insert another page or delete it. You can also, you should be able to literally click right between these pages and do a right mouse click and insert. Try that on your computers, and it should allow you to literally click in between two pages and insert a page in between, just by using a right mouse click, insert page. So I think that's probably everything. I'm going to go down to this page, and we're just going to do it the hard way. So I'm at the beginning of this page. In this case, it's page 2 or page 3, depending on if you're counting the cover page as one of the pages. And I just can hit delete, and it deleted that page out of there. And you'll notice it's disappeared from the navigation page. So we're moving along. Let's talk about page numbering. Any document that's longer than a few pages really should have some kind of an indication on where you are. And it's obviously a personal thing, but if you're talking books, chapters, 10-page reports, it's really helpful to include a page number. And we're going to insert, and under headers and footers, you have the page number option. You can insert at the top of the page, the bottom of the page margins, and you can put it in the current position. So if you wanted it inside the page, not in the page header or footer, you can do that. You can format the page numbers. So let's start by, I'm just going to put a page number at the bottom of the page, and I'm going to go with page 1. Oops, sorry, I went up at the bottom of the page. Page 1, just like that. So now you'll see page 1 here. Notice they are not giving a page number on the header page, on the cover page. But I'm going to go back in here, and I'm going to, insert page numbers, format page numbers. So do I want it to start 1, 2, 3? Do I want to include a chapter number? Sometimes you can have it literally say chapter 1, page 1, chapter 1, page 2, and so forth. Do I want it to be continuous from the previous section, or do I want it to start at the number 1, 2, whatever? I could tell it to start at number 5. Why? Just because. And if I tell it to include the chapter number, then it's going to look for whatever the chapter is for there based on a header. I'm not going to do that, but you could do that. So if at the very beginning of your document, it said chapter 4, formatting pages, then that would become part of the header, part of the page number. In fact, we can do that. Get out of there. I'm going to remove the cover page, remove current cover page. So I'm back to this. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the beginning of this page, get a new page, and I'm going to go up here, and I'm going to go to header 1. And I'm going to say chapter 4, formatting pages, because that's the chapter we're in. And now if I go back to insert page number, format page number, include the chapter's number. So we've got that, and continue from the previous section, and we're going to hit OK. Oh, there's no chapter number. Well, then we'll come back to that when we're dealing with other stuff. It's possible. So anyway, we've done it. We've got page 1, we've got page 2, and we've got page 3. That's how you put page numbers in there. So how about headers and footers? So that is part of our footer down here. And we can go up to view. Oh. Sorry, they have it under the insert They've changed that. Sorry, I'm an old dude. So we're going to go to the footer. And you'll notice we're down here in the footer. And I could put down here, my name. And then click out of it. And it'll be on each page right there. Similarly, I can go up to the header. And all I did was I double-clicked above everything and it went into the header. This is going to be a little tight because we've got such a small margin. We set the margin at 1/2 inch, which brings it right up to the very top of the page. Here, I'm going to put my chapter 4, formatting pages in Word 2016. So there we go. I double click out of it. And there it is at the top of each page. Now, even though it looks grayed out, it will print in black and white unless you tell it that you want it in a color or some form of gray. They gray it out so that you know it's part of the header and footer. When it's actually time to print it, it'll look black unless you've changed it to something else. So you go here, what color is it? It's automatic, which is black in Word. But I could also as easily changed it to a blue. Doesn't matter. Same thing goes over here. If I want that to be a different color, just change it to a different color. Now it'll look different when you actually go to print it. So that's headers and footers. They stay the same throughout the document. If I go up here and I click on this header, and I go up here where it's different odd and even pages or different first page. So I click different first page. Notice it's disappeared on the first page, but it is here for the second and third. So I have that option of having either a different one on the first page or just leaving it out. So if you have made your own cover page, not used an insert cover page, because the insert cover page won't put a header on it normally. You can just leave it blank so that on your header page that says Chapter 4, Tom Beckford, it won't be up there. You'll just have a clean blank slate, but you can still have headers for the rest of the document. I'm going to do Control-Z, put it back. Now, the last thing that I want to do is we're going to talk about the page in total, and we're going to insert several different things here. We're going to first go to the design page. We've been bouncing around. So we've been on the home page, insert page, design page, layout page, and view page. But right now we're on the design page, and we're going to go over all the way to the right side, and you'll see page background section. And there's one for watermarks, there's one for page color, and one for page borders. We click on the drop-down menu for the watermark. You'll notice that there's a number of possibilities: confidential, do not copy, both diagonal and horizontal, draft, sample. You can get more watermarks from office.com, and you can make a custom watermark. So I could just set it to confidential, and you'll notice now in the back of this, although personally probably a draft would be better for this. Maybe you're writing up a document, you don't want somebody to accidentally submit it to Boston Globe until it's ready for the editor. So you put draft on it. You can also go in and do a custom, and maybe what I want it to do is draft 3, so we can keep track of what draft number this is. And now you'll notice that the number 3 is added. The purpose behind a watermark is to make it light enough that it won't overshadow the whole page, but it draws your attention to the fact that there's something special about this page. Some people will use that to literally to put something in the background to personalize their stationery. So rather than confidential, it might say, McDonald's, fast food on the fly for young people. I mean, you could do whatever you want, put it in the background, and you can do that using a watermark. Now, page color is different. You can just pick a different color. It may or may not mess up your coloring scheme. You'll notice if I go with a really dark color, it's changed almost all of the text to a light color or a white, but not all of it. So you may still need to go back in and adjust it where it hasn't auto-formatted. On the other hand, you can get some that are, leaves the text color the way it was, and you are going to have to decide how you want to play with it. Try to remember, if you're mucking with colors on a page, green and red, try to stay away from putting those together on the same page, because about 10% of all males and about 1% of all females are colorblind in the red-green spectrum, and it can drive them just a little batty, speaking from personal experience. The last thing we can do is to do page borders. There's not a drop-down menu, so you just click it and it opens up a dialog box. You pick the style first. So do you want single line, double line, dashed line, and whatever. And you can change it on the little window, the preview window, and you can apply it to the whole document, the section, the first page only, or all except the first page. So if you only wanted a border on your first page, then fine, you do that. You can make it three-dimensional, which tries to give it a little bit of a shadow. You can change the thickness in the width section. You can change the color, and you can do artistic borders if you happen to like those little, trees all the way around the border, like that. Notice these really cut. They're going to be around the edges. If your text goes to the edge, as it does on this page right now, you're going to have an issue with that. So I'm going to go back to page borders. Let's just go with a simple line and see how that fits. In this case, everything is fine. It's around everything. If I wanted, it's not quite right, it's too close to the bottom. Then go back to your layout, go to your margins, change your margins, and it moves it in. Notice that the header and the footer stayed where they were because they are pegged to the edges of the page, not to the rest of the text. But the rest of the text moved in well away from the borders. And so if we went back to design, went to page borders, went to art, put our birthday cakes there. Now all of the wording in the middle of the page is fine, but we've still lost our headers and our footers because they're on the edge. And you can get around that by moving those farther away from the top and bottom of the page. That's pretty much everything that we wanted to cover in Chapter 4. So hopefully you'll be able to use that, get through your homework for Chapter 4. If you have any questions, of course, reach out to me at my office or through email, and I'll be happy to help you. Thanks.